Hi there, so my name is Keith Griggs and I just wanted to tell you a bit about my story and about why I'm so passionate about investing in property. I do think it's really amazing. So flashback about 20 years ago, I was living in rented accommodation. I was working for 40 hours a week as an accountant, as a financial controller in a fruit importing business down the road. And sometimes it was sort of okay. There were sort of nice bits about my job as well. I quite liked some of the people, but other times it was actually quite stressful, and I had all these deadlines. I had to do monthly accounts all the time, and I'd rely on other people to get those done, and sometimes the other people would let me down and they wouldn't give me their figures in time, so I'd have to like hassle, come on, give me your figures, and then I'd have these people higher up than me saying, like, come on, you've got to get everything ready on time. It's all got to be totally accurate and everything. So I had all this pressure and things going wrong. So it was very stressful, and I didn't really enjoy it. And then I realised every time I opened up my computer and looked at a spreadsheet, I started to feel all this sort of anxiety and fear and I've got to hurry up sort of thing, that sort of horrible feeling. And I used to hate Monday mornings. And then adjusting for my beautiful weekend, relaxed, having fun, and then having to go to work and get embroiled again in all this stress. And then by about Wednesday I started to think, oh, well, only halfway now, only a couple more days to the weekend. And then Thursday, oh, only one more day to go. And then Friday, yes, it's Friday. And then Friday afternoon, 5:30, I turn off my computer, breathe a sigh of relief and come home and go, wow, I've got 2 days off, isn't that incredible? And I'd have a curry and a beer on Friday night to celebrate. Saturday I'd wake up and I'd just be exhausted from the week, and then Saturday afternoon I'd start to perk up a bit, and Sunday I'd really start to feel like alive again, like I was enjoying life. But then by the time Sunday afternoon came round, so, oh no, it's going to be Monday morning tomorrow. So that was my life, week in, week out, month in, month out. And it seemed not to have any end, because I was saving, I was trying to save. I thought, well, I need to get out of this. How can I do it? So I tried to save money. So I did all these spreadsheets and worked out how much I was saving. I was saving about £600 a month. So that's £7,200 a year. So over 10 years, that's 70,000. Over 20 years, it's 140,000. So I was looking forward, well, maybe when I'm 65, I can have enough money so that I can eke out my, my remaining years in sort of relative comfort. That was my goal, to sort of work all these years and then retire. And because there didn't seem anything else I could do, I didn't see any chance of promotion. And I was really scared about packing in my job, because previously I packed in my job and then I couldn't find permanent work for a whole year. I was phoning up about 10 different agencies every single week. I've got all their numbers in my Filofax. I phone them up, it's me, have you got any jobs? No, nothing. I did manage a one temp job for a few months in Leicester. I had to relocate just for a temp job. But jobs were very few and far between then, because I think it was in the middle of a recession. So because of that experience, I was very scared about leaving my job. So I was trapped, had all this stress and pressure, and then my boss, who I quite liked, left, and he got replaced with this other boss, which I didn't like, who was very much in the school of being a boss, which involved ruling by fear and just sort of telling people off all the time and saying you've got to work harder, you mustn't make mistakes, and pushing more work onto me. And it was just really horrible experience, and so I was trapped. So I wanted to make money to get, so I wasn't so dependent on my job. And the reason for that was so I could one day leave my job and then I just feel happy again inside and without all this pressure and stress. That was what I wanted. So I didn't really have any plan how to do it. Then I came across this book called Multiple Streams of Income by someone called Robert Allen, And I found it really opened my eyes in a way, because it talked about passive income. I don't think I'd heard that expression before. But it's where you get money from things without having to spend any time, particularly through investments. He mentioned well, property is the obvious one. Also things like stocks and shares, internet assets, websites. And of course, the idea has become a lot more popular now. There's been other books like Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. But at the time, it seemed like a brilliant idea. Yes, if I could get some passive investments and grow them, then that would replace part of my income, so it would give me more freedom and more scope. And I was particularly interested in property, but I found it a bit scary. And then I read this other book by someone called Jan Summers. She was Australian. And her strategy was very simple. You just buy a property, you wait. Over time, property will increase in value, inevitably, because things always go up if you wait long enough. Whereas the mortgage stays fixed in money terms. So while your property is going up every year, then your equity is increasing. And then at some point, you'll be able to draw down this equity as cash and then use that as a deposit for your next property. So now you've got two properties going like this, and then so you're growing at double the speed, and then you can just draw down these two chunks of equity at some point, and then you can buy one or two more properties. So you've got several properties now all going up like that together, and you keep on drawing down, rinsing and repeating. And at the same time, as well as your capital appreciation, you've also got your rental income. Your rental income hopefully exceeds all your mortgage costs and other maintenance costs. So that's all covered. So it's like a sort of money-making machine. I thought, wow, isn't that amazing? And then she gave all these examples in her book of people who've done that. It's not, you don't get rich overnight, but over time, you can get very rich. And a lot of people do that, even though they didn't particularly have lots of skill in property. Of course, if you have a bit more skill in property, you'll probably grow a bit faster. But just thought, wow, what a brilliant idea. So I thought, okay, let's go for it. So I was living in rented accommodation. So my first step was to buy a property, which is actually this property, where I'm still living. So bought this in about, I think, 1997 or something like that. And then, now when I bought it, it was just sort of like now, everyone kept on saying, oh, there's going to be a property crash, interest rates are going to go through the roof, all these sort of horror stories. But I just did it anyway, because I realised, well, I've got to live somewhere, so I might as well live somewhere that I own. And actually, I bought a bigger property so I could rent out one of the rooms to a tenant. So I had a lodger sort of in there. He had one room. He shared the bathroom and shared the kitchen, but basically lived in his room all the time, whereas I had all the other rooms in the house. But he was paying effectively half my mortgage. So that worked out really well. So because that was my plan to do that, I knew that I could buy a bigger house than I would have done normally if I hadn't have had him. So it meant my capital appreciation, everything is faster. So I bought this house, and then exactly as predicted, over time, the value of the house increased. So I was able to draw down that equity and use that to buy my first investment property, which was a bit scary for me. I'd never done anything like that before. And again, you hear all these horror stories, but I thought, well, I've got to do it, because what's the alternative? Just my previous plan of just working till I'm 65 in a job that I hate and then just eking out a sort of mediocre retirement. So I bought this investment property in East London, and it was a 5-bedroom house and in quite a poor area, but it worked quite well, and the same thing happened. So property prices increased there and here, and then these two chunks of equity I drew down again, invested in my next property, and then another one, and then another one. So it all worked. It worked exactly as planned. Now, of course, I did have problems. And these are the sort of horror stories you read about. Yes, I did have problems. One tenant just stopped paying the rent, and I had to take her to court and evict her. And I don't like evicting people, but I sort of didn't have any choice if she decided to stop paying the rent. And then I was living abroad for some of this time, because it was very hands off. It's very passive. I just got money transferred into my account every week by the letting agent, and then I do everything by phone. And then one day I got a letter from the police saying, "Oh, did you realise two of your properties in London were being used as cannabis factories?" I thought, oh, no, I didn't realise. So I got back to them and said, no, of course I didn't know. And then they said, okay, that's fine then. But just so you know, we went in, we closed down the cannabis factories, and that's it. You've got this sort of mess you've got to sort out. So anyway, I had to send my guy in to sort everything out, which should take some time, because they'd been stealing electricity from the street to fuel their big lights. So that took a while. It was quite complicated to get the electricity put back on. But anyway, I managed to do that. And so despite these disasters, because the system works so well, you get rental income, you also get the capital appreciation, you've got multiple properties, so even if you get disaster in one, you've still got the income from the others. Because there's so much money in the system, it sort of was able to withstand, the sort of minor problems I was having. And also I was learning from my mistakes, learning what sort of properties to get. I now think it's normally better to get 1 or 2 bedroom properties, smaller properties, rather than large ones, because the larger ones seem harder to rent out, especially to good tenants. So the system worked, and then after 10 or so years, they all more than doubled in value. So the system worked exactly according to plan, and I earned so much more money with property than with my normal job, slaving away for 40 hours a week as an accountant, and with hardly any effort at all, just a few phone calls now and again, maybe going out of my comfort zone, taking slight risks and so on. But even so, it was it blew my mind how much easier it was making money in property than making money with my job in paid employment. And I sort of started with nothing really. I just had all I needed was a deposit for my first house. So, and the amazing thing about it, of course, is that I gave up that job in, I think, 2000. In May 2000, I packed in my accountancy job, and it's just been so amazing just to have all this freedom and able to spend my time in things I'm really passionate about, like my internet business I started. So I definitely recommend getting in property if you have a chance. So hope you found my story useful anyway. Okay, all the best. Bye.